Welcome to another episode of the Stay Wealthy Retirement Show. I'm your host, Taylor Schulte, and every week I tackle the most important financial topics to help you stay wealthy in retirement. And now, on to the episode. You've probably been told at some point in your life that you need at least $1 million saved or 10 times your salary, or that you must follow the sacred 4% rule to retire safely. But here's the truth that longtime listeners of this show are very aware of. These one-size-fits-all formulas rarely apply neatly to every individual situation. They completely ignore the realities of your life. They overlook the option of taking Social Security early at age 62, and they dismiss the idea of retirement spending naturally decreasing as you age. Perhaps worst of all, these popular retirement formulas ignore lifestyle flexibility. In other words, they ignore your ability to adjust discretionary spending, pick up part-time work, relocate, or even downsize your home. According to a recent Northwestern Mutual survey, Americans believe that they need $1.5 million to retire comfortably, which is 15% higher than the $1.3 million reported last year. Even crazier, it's nearly 60% higher than the $950,000 Americans said they needed to retire in the 2020 study. People's magic number to retire comfortably has exploded to an all-time high. However, many successful retirees, even those living desirable lifestyles, thrive on much less than some might assume. As you may be able to relate to, these widespread retirement myths and rigid planning benchmarks can create unnecessary stress, causing many people to feel behind and continue working longer than they might have to. But being behind is not about failing to reach some arbitrary savings benchmark. It's about not having a plan tailored specifically to your retirement needs. The truth is, you might be much closer to retirement than these myths suggest. So let's go ahead and dismantle these common misunderstandings and start to uncover what genuinely makes retiring at 62 feasible for you. To start, successful early retirement heavily relies on optimizing guaranteed income sources like Social Security. Many financial planners, myself included, often recommend delaying Social Security for as long as possible. Delaying Social Security maximizes your monthly benefit and keeps you in a lower tax bracket for a longer period of time, allowing for a longer runway to implement those Roth conversions. By the way, if you want to learn more about Roth conversions and how to evaluate them, I did an in-depth 2-part series here on the show. You can scroll through the episodes in your podcast app or visit youstaywealthy.com/147 to listen to part 1. So delaying Social Security until age 70 has clear benefits and is typically considered sound advice. But that doesn't mean that it's the right move for everyone. We don't have the 2024 data yet, but in 2023, nearly 3 out of every 10 retirees claimed Social Security early at age 62. Accepting a 30% reduction in income compared to waiting until full retirement age. Are they all making a mistake? Are they all clueless about the benefits of delaying Social Security? Absolutely not. In fact, a brand new Vanguard study that I'm still digesting and reviewing more closely found that for certain retirees, claiming Social Security early can actually preserve more wealth over time compared to waiting until 70. Why? Because it reduces portfolio withdrawals and creates a financial buffer. In other words, taking Social Security early can reduce the amount that you need from your investments to fund retirement expenses, and it mitigates the need to sell investments at a loss during market crashes just to pay your bills in those early, vulnerable years of retirement. You have a guaranteed income flowing in, helping your portfolio recover quicker during those difficult times. It's also worth mentioning the behavioral aspect, which is that people often place a higher value on a dollar today versus a dollar tomorrow. While this mindset doesn't necessarily always align with maximizing wealth and isn't always the textbook answer, it is widespread and quite relatable. It can also be beneficial to some retirees because having immediate access to Social Security payments early on in retirement doesn't just provide financial comfort, it also delivers significant psychological value and emotional reassurance. Retirement is not just a numbers game. It's about quality of life. Knowing there's a steady stream of guaranteed income can reduce stress and anxiety and give retirees the freedom to actually enjoy their golden years rather than constantly worry about market fluctuations or running out of money. You see, claiming Social Security early is not always about accepting less. Sometimes it's about gaining strategic financial flexibility. You don't necessarily need millions of dollars to retire confidently at age 62. You just need a smarter, more flexible plan. So what's the secret to this smarter plan? Stop obsessing over building a bigger nest egg and start maximizing what you already have. Said another way, approach the math from a different angle and reverse engineer your plan. Instead of asking, how much do I need to retire? Or how much more do I need to save? Ask something like, how much do I actually need to spend to fund my desired lifestyle? For example, I recently spoke to a couple who felt significantly behind with a $1.8 million retirement portfolio. Every online calculator told them that they needed $2.5 million to retire comfortably. They were stressed and working jobs they hated, sacrificing their health for a number that maybe wasn't even accurate. Here's what we discovered. They needed $130,000 per year to fund their retirement. Housing, travel, entertainment, everything. Like many people I talked to, they were not even considering Social Security before age 70 because everything they read told them that taking it early was the wrong choice, that everyone should delay to get the higher benefit. But knowledge is power, and exploring what it looks like to take it early and knowing how that decision can help or hurt your plan is a wildly beneficial exercise. Even if you don't take it early, knowing that you can and knowing the impacts of that decision can completely change your mindset. For this couple, taking it early was likely going to be the right answer based on their unique retirement needs and goals. So when we factored in Social Security at age 62, which would pay them a combined $50,000 annually on day one of retirement, we highlighted that they would now only need $80,000 from their $1.8 million portfolio. Now, under the problematic and overly conservative 4% rule, they would still mistakenly assume that retirement was still out of reach. 4% times $1.8 million is only $72,000 per year, which is short of their needs. However, by shifting and improving their portfolio asset allocation and implementing a flexible withdrawal strategy known as guardrails, we highlighted that they could safely begin taking out $97,000 per year from their portfolio, more than what they actually needed. Even better, we revisited their expenses and highlighted that a healthy percentage of them, such as travel, would naturally decrease as they aged, offering further flexibility in their later retirement years. So after strategically aligning their Social Security claiming strategy and portfolio withdrawals with their unique situation and goals, they realized that retirement at 62 with a $1.8 million nest egg was not just possible, it was comfortably achievable. Sure, delaying retirement might lead to more wealth, but it often means sacrificing valuable years of health and enjoyment. On the other hand, voluntary, keyword there, voluntary early retirement with a well-crafted plan can deliver significant health benefits, reduce stress, and dramatically improved quality of life. And these benefits frequently outweigh the incremental financial gains of working longer. Now, understanding the strategy is one thing, but implementing it properly and with confidence is where the real success comes from. To help provide you with a starting point in your planning or your retirement conversations with your spouse or trusted advisors, let me walk you through a simple 4-step process for building your personalized early retirement plan. Step number 1, get brutally honest about your expenses. You'll want to document your essential expenses first. These are the must-haves: housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance, especially health insurance before Medicare. These are your non-negotiables. Then from there, identify your fun money. These are what we call your discretionary expenses: travel, entertainment, spoiling the grandkids, that golf membership that you've always wanted. And if you want to add me as your +1 to your new golf membership, even better. But separating these two expense types and understanding this breakdown creates clarity for accurate planning at the start of this exercise. Step number 2, match your guaranteed income sources to essential expenses. Here's where you can use claiming Social Security at age 62 as your planning anchor. Once again, even if you're not convinced you'll claim it early, knowing that you can and knowing the impacts of that decision, positive or negative, can significantly shift your mindset and improve retirement confidence. You'll also include pensions or other guaranteed income sources here, and then compare these sources to your essential expenses that you documented in step 1. If your essentials are $75,000 per year, and Social Security at age 62 gives you $30,000, well, your true annual gap that you need to fill from your investment portfolio is $45,000. Step number 3, build flexibility into your plan. Remember, retiring earlier with less money than you assumed you needed requires a smarter, more flexible plan. We need our plan to bend, not break. For example, you'll certainly need to factor in inflation, but remember, average retiree spending typically decreases over time. In fact, the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College found that the average retired household cuts its spending by about 1.5% every year throughout retirement. Yes, medical expenses or a long-term care event can offset that decrease, but costly medical events that make sizable dents in retirement budgets are rarer than most people assume, as I've documented here on the show before. Still, you'll need to factor in your own health and family health history, as well as anticipated needs to determine how to best factor in current medical expenses and future potential expenses. As part of step 3, you'll also want to factor in what I call your flexibility levers. Could you work 10 hours a week doing something you enjoy? Or downsize your housing if needed? Or opt for a more affordable staycation instead of an overseas trip when the markets are not cooperating? These are not requirements. They are valuable options that can reduce risk and enhance your retirement confidence. Finally, step number 4, optimize withdrawal strategies to reduce taxes and improve your plan. As part of adopting a flexible withdrawal strategy like guardrails, you'll need to determine an appropriate order of operations for withdrawing money from different types of accounts with different tax treatments. While this can be a complex decision that changes month to month or year to year, in short, you'll typically want to start by filling up favorable tax brackets first with pre-tax IRA withdrawals or Roth conversions. Then from there, consider using taxable investment accounts to fill additional income gaps, taking advantage of the more favorable long-term capital gains rates. Finally, allow those Roth IRAs to grow and compound tax-free for as long as possible, maximizing their long-term potential and allowing for tax-free withdrawals later on in retirement or even tax-free inheritance for your heirs. The concepts discussed today are not theory. I've seen them work over and over and over, and the pattern is always the same. People feel behind because they're measuring themselves against generic benchmarks or their friends or family instead of their actual needs. And here's the problem, specifically for those who want to stop working and want to retire early. Every month that you delay could be costing you precious time with family, your health, and experiences that you'll never get back. Now, you might be thinking, Taylor, but what if I run out of money? Sure, that is a valid and common concern that certainly needs to be addressed and built into your long-term plan. But working 5 or 10 more years in a job that you don't love just to stash away more money because you feel behind is not always the right answer, especially if you're too tired or unhealthy to enjoy it all when you finally do pull the trigger. As I noted in a recent episode, the biggest retirement risk for smart, diligent savers like you is not necessarily running out of money. It's running out of time. By documenting your expenses, thoughtfully leveraging Social Security benefits, identifying your flexibility levers, and implementing a flexible, tax-efficient withdrawal strategy, you likely already possess everything needed to retire much sooner than you believed possible. And that decision could genuinely be one of the best financial and personal decisions that you ever make.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast is not engaged in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.